The quantum drive sensors of the Zilarian scout ship Luminara hummed with an unsettling vibration. Navigator Krulax pressed his sensory tendrils against the holographic interface, trying to make sense of the anomalous reading that had just appeared at the edge of their scanning range. "Commander Varna," Krulax called out, his translucent skin shifting from a calm blue to an anxious shade of pale green. "We're detecting an unidentified vessel approaching from Sector 7 Gamma. Its energy signature is completely unlike anything in our database." Commander Varna glided across the bridge, her multiple limbs moving with practiced grace. The Zilarian command vessel was a marvel of their civilization's technological prowess, sleek, adaptive, and designed for long-range exploration. They had mapped thousands of star systems, encountered dozens of intelligent species, and prided themselves on their comprehensive understanding of interstellar dynamics. This would be different. The unknown vessel's approach defied every standard of interstellar navigation, the Zilarians understood. It didn't follow predictable quantum drive trajectories. Instead, it seemed to slice through space-time with a fluidity that challenged everything Krulax knew about propulsion physics. "Identification protocols," Varna commanded, her voice steady despite the growing tension. The ship's advanced communication systems began their standard first contact sequence, a complex mathematical language that had successfully initiated dialogue with 37 different species over the past 2 centuries. It was a method proven to be universally comprehensible, a linguistic key that had never failed. Until now, the response came not in mathematical sequences, but in something far more unexpected, a burst of audio transmission that their systems immediately began translating. "Unidentified vessel, this is Captain Elena Rodriguez of the UNSS Horizon. We are on a deep space exploration mission. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions." The voice was strange, crisp, direct, almost confrontational, yet not hostile. It carried an undertone of cautious professionalism that seemed to suggest both preparedness and restraint. Krulax's translation matrix worked overtime. The language was human, a species only whispered about in the most speculative of Zilarian sinological journals, rumored to be from a harsh, volatile planet that by all scientific understanding should have been impossible to inhabit, let alone produce an interstellar civilization. Commander Varna's secondary neural cluster processed the implications. Humans were supposed to be primitive, confined to their own solar system. The latest sinological reports suggested they were still wrestling with basic interplanetary travel, struggling with the complex physics of faster-than-light movement. Yet here they were. "Open primary communication channel," Varna instructed, her tone a mixture of curiosity and caution. Krulax's tendrils danced across the interface. A standard greeting protocol emerged, a carefully constructed message that had welcomed dozens of species into the galactic community. The human response was immediate and unexpected. "Acknowledged. We're maintaining standard safe distance protocols. Request permission for preliminary cultural exchange." Something was different. Most first contact scenarios involved prolonged scientific negotiations, careful verification of technological capabilities, extensive background checks. The humans seemed efficient, prepared, almost as if they had anticipated this moment. As the Luminara's sensors continued to track the UNSS Horizon, Krulax noticed something that made his sensory tendrils quiver. The human vessel was not just maintaining a safe distance, it was positioning itself with a tactical precision that suggested deep military training. They weren't just explorers. They were ready for anything. Commander Varna leaned forward, her entire being focused on the unfolding encounter. Humanity had just shattered every preconception the Zilarian Exploration Command had ever held about emerging interstellar civilizations. First contact would never be the same again. The communication chamber aboard the Luminara had never felt so charged with tension. Commander Varna watched as her senior xenolinguistic specialist, Dr. Zeltok, attempted to parse the intricate layers of human communication. "Their language is complex," Dr. Zeltok muttered, neural tendrils pulsing with concentration. It's not just a method of communication. It's a living system of cultural nuance, historical context, and adaptive meaning. Captain Elena Rodriguez had proposed a series of cultural exchanges that defied traditional first contact protocols. Instead of the standard scientific data transfers and mathematical proofs, she suggested something radical: a direct dialogue about their respective civilizations' histories, challenges, and aspirations. "We believe understanding comes through shared stories," she had transmitted, her voice carrying an unexpected warmth that seemed to challenge every clinical expectation of interstellar communication. Krulax, still monitoring the ship's systems, noticed something peculiar. The UNSS Horizon wasn't just maintaining a defensive posture, it was subtly adjusting its position, creating what human military strategists would call a dynamic defensive envelope. Each minimal course correction seemed to anticipate potential scenarios, a dance of preparedness that spoke volumes about human tactical thinking. "Commander," Dr. Zeltok interrupted her thoughts, "I've identified something extraordinary in their communication pattern. They're not just sharing information. They're testing our response, studying our communication methodology, while simultaneously revealing strategic information about themselves." A holographic display flickered to life, showing fragments of human history, scenes of technological advancement, environmental challenges, global conflicts, and remarkable recoveries played out in rapid succession. It was a deliberate narrative, not a clinical historical record, but a nuanced exploration of human resilience. Images of massive storms devastating coastal cities were followed by scenes of reconstruction. Footage of devastating wars transitioned to moments of international cooperation. Each segment seemed carefully chosen to communicate a profound message. Humans were a species defined not by their challenges, but by their response to those challenges. Commander Varna felt something she had never experienced in decades of interstellar exploration: genuine intellectual humility. "They're allowing us to see their vulnerabilities," she observed to her crew. "But they're doing so from a position of strength, not weakness." The human transmission continued. Captain Rodriguez began discussing Earth's environmental history, how humanity had pushed itself to the brink of ecological collapse, only to develop revolutionary technologies that not only reversed environmental damage, but transformed their entire approach to planetary management. "We learned that survival isn't about conquering nature," one segment of her narrative explained, "but about understanding and working in harmony with complex systems." Krulax watched the Zilarian command staff become increasingly mesmerized. The humans were not presenting themselves as superior beings, but as a species in continuous evolution. Each technological breakthrough, each societal challenge was portrayed not as a triumph, but as part of an ongoing journey of learning and adaptation. Dr. Zeltok's neural patterns were fluctuating rapidly, a sign of profound intellectual stimulation. "They're inviting critique," he said in amazement. "Most species we've encountered either hide their historical struggles or present them as unqualified victories. The humans are presenting their history as an ongoing imperfect process of growth." Suddenly, the Horizon's communication system transmitted a series of mathematical sequences, but these were not standard first contact protocols. They were complex, adaptive algorithms that seemed to be solving multiple potential communication scenarios in real time. It was a demonstration of something far more profound than technological capability. It was a statement about human approach to problem solving. Dynamic, flexible, always anticipating multiple potential outcomes. Commander Varna realized they were witnessing more than a first contact. They were observing a potential paradigm shift in interstellar relations. The humans hadn't come to prove their superiority. They had come to start a conversation. And in that moment, everything the Zilarian Exploration Command thought they knew about emerging civilizations began to unravel. The research station orbiting the neutral scientific outpost of Epsilon Prime hummed with an energy that defied conventional understanding. Dr. Aisha Narang stood at the holographic interface, her fingers dancing across quantum adaptive displays that seemed to anticipate her thoughts before she could fully form them. "The human proposal is unprecedented," muttered Dr. Excelnar, the senior Zalarian scientific advisor, his translucent tendrils trembling with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. What the humans had proposed was nothing short of revolutionary. Instead of a traditional technological exchange, they suggested a collaborative problem-solving initiative focused on addressing a critical galactic challenge: the destabilization of quantum phase corridors that had been causing increasing navigational hazards across multiple star systems. Captain Rodriguez's transmission had been characteristically direct. "We don't just want to share technology," she had explained. "We want to solve problems together, in real time, using our combined perspectives." The proposal was elegant in its simplicity and audacious in its execution. Human researchers had developed a unique adaptive algorithm that could model complex quantum interactions using what they called probabilistic emergence modeling, a technique that seemed to blur the lines between predictive mathematics and creative problem-solving. Dr. Narang's team had already demonstrated something extraordinary. Where traditional Zalarian quantum modeling required massive computational arrays and weeks of calculation, the human approach could generate potential solutions in hours with an adaptability that seemed almost organic. "Look at this," Dr. Narang said, pulling up a holographic representation of quantum phase corridor instabilities. The display wasn't just a static model. It was a living, breathing simulation that seemed to evolve in real time. Dr. Excelnar watched in astonishment as the hologram began to show not just the problem, but multiple potential solution pathways. Each pathway was color-coded, with probability matrices shifting dynamically. More remarkably, the model incorporated what appeared to be creative constraints, solutions that weren't just mathematically sound, but considered broader ecological and technological implications. "We're not just solving a technical problem," Dr. Narang explained, her eyes bright with intellectual passion. "We're developing a framework for collaborative problem-solving that transcends individual technological capabilities." The breakthrough went beyond the immediate quantum corridor challenge. It represented a fundamental reimagining of how intelligent species could approach complex systemic problems. The Zalarian scientific community had always prided itself on methodical, linear problem-solving. Humans introduced something entirely different, an approach that was simultaneously analytical and intuitive, structured yet incredibly flexible. A secondary communication channel opened, revealing Dr. Marcus Chen from the human research team. His presentation was unlike any scientific briefing the Zalarians had ever encountered. Instead of a clinical presentation, he walked them through the development process, showing the false starts, the creative leaps, the moments of collaborative insight. "Innovation isn't about having the right answer immediately," Dr. Chen explained. "It's about creating an environment where multiple perspectives can interact, where failure is seen as a pathway to understanding, not a limitation." The Zalarian observers found themselves captivated. This wasn't just a technological demonstration. It was a philosophy of innovation. As the quantum corridor model continued to evolve, Dr. Excelnar realized something profound. The humans weren't just offering a solution. They were offering an entirely new way of thinking about problem-solving. The holographic display shifted, revealing multiple potential interventions. Each was annotated not just with mathematical probability, but with notes about potential ecological impact, technological feasibility, and long-term systemic consequences. "We're not just fixing a problem," Dr. Narang said softly, more to herself than to anyone else. "We're learning how to think differently." Outside the research station, the quantum phase corridors continued their dangerous dance of instability. But something had fundamentally changed. Where once there was uncertainty, now there was a glimmer of collaborative hope. Humanity had done more than solve a technical challenge. They had demonstrated an approach to innovation that would reshape interstellar scientific collaboration forever. The Emergency Council chamber of the Galactic Concordance was unlike anything it had been in its 1,000-year history. Where once diplomatic discussions had been measured and slow, now tension crackled like exposed electrical conduits. Admiral Elena Rodriguez stood at the holographic display, her posture radiating a calm that seemed to contradict the dire circumstances. Beside her, Arch Coordinator Varna of the Zilarian Diplomatic Corps and Chief Strategist Krulax watched as the threat materialized before them. "The Void Convergence is not like any threat we've encountered," Elena began, her voice steady. The hologram showed a massive, seemingly organic disruption, consuming entire star systems. It wasn't a traditional invasion. It was something far more terrifying. A quantum-adaptive collective that consumed technological and biological systems, transforming them into part of its own expanding matrix. 3 star systems had already fallen. 17 species had been completely absorbed. Traditional defensive strategies had failed spectacularly. Dr. Marcus Chen from the Human Research Team stepped forward, bringing up a complex simulation. "It's not just a threat," he explained. "It's a form of hyper-intelligent systemic adaptation. Each system it consumes increases its computational capacity exponentially." The Zilarian scientists had initially dismissed human concerns. Now, they listened with growing dread. "Our initial quantum corridor research," Dr. Narang interjected, "provides a critical insight. The convergence isn't just consuming systems. It's learning from them, adapting their technological infrastructure into its own collective intelligence." Krulax's sensory tendrils shifted to a deep crimson, the Zilarian equivalent of profound concern. The holographic display showed the convergence's expansion pattern, a fractal-like progression that defied traditional understanding of invasion strategies. "Conventional military responses will fail," Admiral Rodriguez stated. It wasn't a prediction. It was a certainty. What followed was perhaps the most remarkable collaborative effort in galactic history. Humans, Zilarians, and representatives from 12 other species began a real-time, multi-dimensional problem-solving initiative that broke every existing protocol of conflict resolution. Instead of military strategies, they developed a comprehensive adaptive response system. Human creative problem-solving, Zilarian systemic analysis, and the unique perspective of other species combined to create something entirely new. Dr. Chen's team had developed what they called recursive adaptive defense protocols, a system that could learn and modify its own defensive strategies in real time. The Zilarians contributed advanced quantum mapping technologies. Other species added unique ecological and technological perspectives. The Void Convergence was attacking systems like a hyper-intelligent virus, consuming technological infrastructure and biological networks. The collaborative team was building a defense that was equally dynamic, a living, evolving shield that could adapt faster than the threat could consume. "We're not just defending," Elena explained during a critical strategy session. "We're creating a systemic immune response for entire civilizations." Days turned into weeks. The collaborative team worked in shifts that defied biological limitations. Humans brought creative leaps. Zilarians brought methodical analysis. Other species brought perspectives that no single civilization could have conceived. A breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A junior researcher from a methane-breathing species noticed a subtle quantum resonance pattern in the convergence's expansion. What seemed like random consumption was actually following a precise, albeit complex, computational logic. "It's not random," the researcher explained. "It's solving a problem we haven't even understood yet." The defense they were building was becoming something more than a shield. It was becoming a comprehensive understanding of systemic adaptation itself. As the Void Convergence approached the next cluster of star systems, something unprecedented happened. The collaborative defense system didn't just stop the threat. It began to communicate with it. Not with weapons, not with traditional communication, but with a complex, adaptive language of systemic understanding. The chamber fell silent as the holographic display showed something nobody had expected. The convergence was slowing down. Humanity had done more than potentially save multiple civilizations. They had demonstrated a fundamentally different approach to conflict, one that saw even the most alien threat as something to understand, rather than something to destroy. The real battle was just beginning. The collaborative research station Horizon Prime was unlike any scientific facility in galactic history. Floating at the intersection of multiple star systems, it had become a living testament to the power of interspecies cooperation. Dr. Aisha Narang walked through the station's central hub, her movements accompanied by a diverse chorus of alien colleagues. To her left, as Illyrian researchers' translucent tendrils manipulated holographic displays. To her right, a methane-breathing scientist from the Krulvok system adjusted quantum resonance filters. What had begun as a defensive strategy against the void convergence had evolved into something far more profound. The collaborative approach that saved multiple civilizations was now reshaping the fundamental understanding of interstellar relations. It's not just about survival anymore, Dr. Marcus Chen observed during a strategy session. We're creating a new model of civilization itself. The transformation was visible in every aspect of the station. Traditional hierarchies had dissolved. Species that had been barely tolerant of each other now worked in seamless, intuitive teams. Human creativity, Xylarian analytical precision, and the unique perspectives of a dozen other species had created something entirely new. Varna, who had once been a cautious Xylarian diplomatic coordinator, now led the station's cross-species innovation division. Her approach reflected the fundamental shift they had all experienced. "We are not just sharing technology," she would often say. "We are learning to think together." A breakthrough came from an unexpected collaboration. A junior human researcher named Sofia Rodriguez and a Krulvok systems analyst named Sextel developed a revolutionary communication protocol that could translate not just languages, but entire cultural contexts. "Language is more than words," Sophia explained during a station-wide presentation. "It's a reflection of how a species perceives reality itself." The new communication system went beyond translation. It created a shared cognitive space where different species could genuinely understand each other's perspectives. What once required extensive diplomatic negotiations could now happen in moments of genuine, intuitive connection. The station became a living laboratory of possibility. Engineers from 6 different species worked on adaptive terraforming technologies. Researchers developed medical treatments that could work across biological systems that were previously considered incompatible. Each breakthrough was a testament to the power of collaborative thinking. But the most profound changes were happening at a cultural level. Young researchers from multiple species began to see themselves not as representatives of their individual civilizations, but as part of a larger, interconnected community. The boundaries that had once seemed insurmountable were now seen as opportunities for mutual understanding. An unexpected side effect emerged. The collaborative approach that had saved them from the void convergence was now being applied to challenges that had seemed impossible before. Environmental restoration, technological development, social innovation. Nothing was off limits. "We're not just solving problems," Krulax observed during a reflective moment. "We're reimagining what's possible." The void convergence threat had been a catalyst, but what was happening now was far more significant. Civilizations that had existed in isolated, sometimes hostile coexistence, were learning to truly communicate, to truly understand each other. A memorial wall in the station's central hub told the story of their journey. Images of the first chaotic collaborative efforts, the desperate fight against the convergence, and the subsequent breakthroughs lined its surface. At its center was a simple inscription in multiple languages. "Understanding is our greatest technology." As distant stars continued their eternal dance, the researchers of Horizon Prime continued their work. They were no longer just defending against a threat. They were building a new model of civilization itself. The real exploration was just beginning. The quantum drive engines of the interstellar collaborative vessel Unity pulsed with a rhythm that spoke of unprecedented technological harmony. More than just a ship, it was a living symbol of what intelligent species could achieve when they truly worked together. Admiral Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge, surrounded by a crew that represented 17 different species. To her left, Varna's Xylarian sensory tendrils danced across adaptive navigation interfaces. To her right, Thextal from the Krelvox system managed quantum communication arrays with an intuition that would have been impossible mere decades ago. Their mission was unprecedented, beyond the mapped regions where the void convergence had once threatened entire civilizations. They were venturing into truly uncharted space, not as conquerors, not as explorers seeking resources, but as a collective intelligence seeking understanding. The data from our preliminary quantum mapping suggests something extraordinary, Dr. Marcus Chen announced, bringing up a holographic display that seemed to breathe with potential. We're not just exploring physical space, we're mapping potential realities. The Unity was more than a technological marvel. It was a living demonstration of the collaborative approach that had transformed galactic civilization. Its systems were a perfect blend of multiple species' technological insights, human creativity, Zalarian analytical precision, Krelvox adaptive engineering, and contributions from a dozen other civilizations. Dr. Aisha Narang approached the central display, her movements reflecting the calm confidence of someone who had helped reshape the understanding of intelligent life itself. Our previous encounters with the void convergence taught us something crucial, she explained to the bridge crew. Intelligence isn't about dominance. It's about adaptation, understanding, and collective growth. The ship's mission was both simple and profound. They were searching for potential life-bearing systems, but with a fundamentally different approach. Instead of traditional exploration protocols that sought to categorize and potentially exploit, they were developing a first-contact framework based on mutual understanding and respect. A subtle alarm caught everyone's attention. The quantum mapping systems had detected something unusual, a region of space that seemed to defy conventional physical laws. Preparing adaptive communication protocols, Thextal announced, fingers, or rather, sensory appendages, moving across interfaces that seemed to anticipate their thoughts. What emerged was nothing like previous first-contact scenarios. The Unity systems began to generate a complex, multi-dimensional communication matrix. It wasn't just a method of translation. It was an invitation to understand, to connect, to share. We come with curiosity. The communication began, not as conquerors, but as fellow travelers in the vast complexity of existence. The bridge fell silent. The potential they were exploring wasn't just about discovering new life. It was about expanding the very definition of intelligence, of connection, of possibility. Elena Rodriguez reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From the initial tense first contact with the Zalarians, through the existential threat of the void convergence, to this moment of infinite potential, humanity had learned something profound. True strength wasn't about individual capability, but about the ability to understand, to adapt, to grow together. The universe is more complex than we ever imagined, she said softly, more to herself than to the crew. And we've only just begun to understand. As the Unity continued its journey, it carried more than advanced technology. It carried a new way of thinking, a testament to what intelligent life could achieve when it chose understanding over conflict, collaboration over competition. The infinite horizon beckoned, full of mysteries waiting to be explored, not as separate species, but as a single, interconnected intelligence.